Hello and welcome to Aorb Tech. Today we're going to discuss continuous series of the Python Learn to Py, and this is a fifth episode about Python. In this episode we will briefly discuss about list and tuple. This is most important topic in this Python. So what is list? A list is basically simpler container which store a value, and this value could be any data type. Any data type mean it could be integers, it could be string, it could be a boolean value. So let's say I wanted to create a list A, and I am going to create integers value. Let's say that integers, and if I run, and it will return the results. So basically in this list that I create is based on the integers value, so it's just number. So if I check the type, it will return as a list because we create a list. So by using square bracket we can create a list. I mention any data type here, so let's take another example where we can store different data types. Let's say that I create another data type. So let's say that so we create another list here, and in this list we take string value, we also take integers value as well. So it could be any data type value. So if I check the type, and it will say it's a list. So in that way we can create a list. Next one is a list indexing. List indexing is basically showing the index number of the element which present in the list, and it's always start from the 0. So let's take an example. We already create a list B. So if I run, this is a list that we create. If I wanted to check the element uh, of index, so let's say I wanted to take 0 index, and in the 0 index, as we can see, it's 1. So if I take another example, and if I say that 3, and if I run it, and it will return at A. So basically 0, 1, 2, 3. In 3 index we have a string value which is A. So let's take another example. Let's say that 9. So 9 is basically, we don't have index values. Why? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But index start from the 0. So the last value is basically in the indexed 8. And here we take the index 9. So we don't have, that's why we get the error. So if I take B8, it will return the last element which is 6. So this is how list indexing is work. Always keep remember that the list indexing is start from the 0 until the end of the element. So as you can see here, because our element are 9, but when we get the access of the 9 indexed, we don't have index. So because it start from the 0 to uh, n. So here our n value is 8. So when we give the index value 8, it will return the 6. So this is how the index is work in the list. The next one is list slicing. List slicing, maybe you familiar with the slicing word because we already discussed very briefly in our previous video string, and in the string we did slicing. We discussed very briefly this topic. Here we will discuss how the slicing is worked in the list. The same approach. So if we see the pseudocode here, the list is basically start the index value. Remember this index value is always start from the 0, and the end value, whatever the value we define, so it's basically take the value from the start to end. And the step is basically how many element we want to skip. We will see about the step example in the end of this list slicing topic. So let me create another list to explain how the slicing is work here. Let me say that I wanted to create a list 1 to n. So here we take the element 10, very simple integers value, and if I wanted to slice, so let me take the example. If I say that this sign, it will take all the element, which mean it's taking all the elements started from the 0 until the end of the element. But if I wanted to define the range, let's say that 0 to 5, so if I return, it will return from 0 to 5 index values. As you can see here, from 0 to 5 index value until 5. Let me show you how it's work. So let's say that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So it will return from 0 to 5. Remember 5 is excluded here. So how it will work, like from 1 to 5 it will return the values that we define here, the range. Let me show you another example. Let's say that I wanted to take a range from 1 to, for example, 2. So if I in the bracket, so how many values it will return? Let's see. So 2. Why 2? Because as we know that 2 is our excluded, and the index value, it will start from the 1. So which element at 1 index? As we already know that at 1 index we have 2, so that's how 2 is written. So let me give another example. Let's say that I wanted to take the value from 5 index to on, so it will return all the remaining element of the list. Why? Because we start index 5. So let's say another example, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we start from 5 until the end of the element 10. So we define 10 and it will return the index value of 10. So this is how the slicing is work. I already mentioned step. Let me show you example how the step is work. So let's say that I wanted to take a num, again slicing, I'm doing slicing. So let's say that, so if you can see here, we take all the element from the list, start from the 0 index to 10th index, and it will show 1 3 5 7 9. Why? Because it will skip every second element of the list. So this is how the step function is work. Let me show you another example. Let's say that I'm going to take the element, but if I say that 3, if we'll see the results, it will skip every third element. So 1 will be show, then 2 3 will be skip, and then 4th will show, and then 5 6 will be skip, and then so on. So this is how the slicing is work. I wanted to show another example of negative index. Let's say that I wanted to take the element and I wanted to take only -4. So if I just me remind you, so if I wanted to remind you that, as we know that it is basically, this is our the list, and -4 is basically the opposite. So this is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. So this is how it works. So if I return here -4, which is 7, and that's how it's return the value of 7. Let me show you another example. Let's say that I wanted to extract the value from 7 to onward. So let's say that -4 if we return. So this is how we take the value. Why? Because we take the index value -4. So basically in this example our index value is start from the 7 to onward. So we defined no and so it's basically take all the values here. So if I take this one and I will skip 2, it will return only 2 values because it will start from the 7 until the end of this number, and by skipping every second value. So 7 will return, then 8 will skip, then 9 will return, and then 10th will be skip. So this is how the slicing is work. I hope you will understand. Feel free to write the comments. I will be help you if anything is unclear here. The next one, change item in the list. In this topic we will see how we can change the element in the list. So let's say that I wanted to take a list, and this list is basically mixture of data type. So it is integers, we have a string, we have a boolean, we have float, then we have a none. So let's run first the list, and this is the list that we create here. And let's say that I wanted to change our boolean value. Oh, so let's say that how I can change it. So let me show you. Let's say that I wanted to okay, so let me explain how it's work. So I take the index value 2, which is already known that 0 1 2. At 2 index we have a false, and then we change false with the true, and we just simply run, and as you can see the result is basically false is replaced with the true. Let me show you another example. In this example, let's say that I wanted to change Amir with Ali. So let's say that mix list. So I take the index value 2, in index value I take the index value 1, as we know that at in 1 we have Amir 0 and 1, and I replace with Amir with Ali, and if I run, as you already know that this Amir is replaced with the Ali. So this is how we can change the item in the list. Next one is basically list method. List method is pretty much useful because we perform a different operation using this list method, and let me show you one by one with example. So let's say that we have a list here with the different unordered integers, and the first method is basically sort. How the sort is work? So let's say that I have let me show you with the example. Let's say that list let's say that 3 1 5 3 again 6 8 2 3 4 1 1. So this is a list that we take, and let me show one by one example. So the sort basically how it's work. Let's say that we have a list 1 8 7 2 21 15. The sort is basically sort the element from ascending to descending order. So how it will return 1 2 7 8 15 21. Let me show you how it's work with the example that we take a. So let's say the a dot sort. If I run, so as you can see, this was the list, which is basically unordered element from the list is here, and if I use the sort function, it's basically sort from ascending to descending. So we have 1 3 3 5 6 7 8 9 11 22 34. This is how the sort is work. The next one is basically reverse. Let me show you with the example. So let's take the same example, and as you can see this is already sort. So if we reverse this list, how we can do that? So let's say that reverse. So if I run, so it is basically reverse the element. Yes, so as you can see, it's reverse the element. So we can see this was a list, and using the reverse method we reverse the element inside the list. The next one is basically append. Append is basically nothing but it's just the value it will concatenate in the end of the list element. So let's say that I wanted to append 33 in the end. So basically let's say that this is my list and I want to append the value a dot append. Let's say I wanted to add 100. So as you see here, so if I append 100, it was basically append. Let me show you another example. So let's say I wanted to append 200. So let me run. So as you can see, we append. If I run this code again, show, see how this is basically append. So if I run again, it will append another 200, and then if I run again it will append another 100. So this is how this is work. The next one is basically insert. So let's say that I have a list of num, and we already create a list before from 1 to 10, and I wanted to insert 3. Let's say that I wanted to insert at one index 5 values. So how I can do that? So num dot insert. So let's say that I wanted to insert a 5 value at index 1. So if I run the num list, and as you can see we insert 5 element at index 1. Let me show you another example. Let's say that I want to insert at 0 indexed some string value. So if I run, as you can see that 1 is appear here because we insert at 0 index a string value a. So this is how the list insert is work. The next one is pop. The pop is basically a delete the element, and there's a two things here. Keep in mind, pop is basically when you wanted to delete the element, we basically define the index. Let's say that I have a list of num, and I wanted to delete the index value which is 5. So how I can do that? As you know that at 5 we give index 1. So num dot pop, and if I say that I wanted to remove 5 values, so I need to define the index of 5 here. So if I run num, and it will remove. So basically in a pop you basically define the indexed here, and it will basically delete the value. So let's say that I wanted to remove from this list 1 here, so you need to define and the indexed 0, and it will delete. So this is how it's work. Let me show you how it's work. Let's say that I wanted to 0, and if I run, it will basically remove this element which is written here. And if I show you the list, as you can see that one element is a pop from the 0 indexed, and the remaining list is start from the 2, 3, and so on. So this is how pop is work. Let me show you with the example how remove is work. Let's say that I have a mixed data type of list, and let's say I wanted to remove the value of Amir. So how I can do that? I just simply add the mixed list dot remove, and then you have to mention the name that you wanted to remove. Mention the name, which means you need to directly mention the value. So if I return my mixed list, as you can see that Amir is removed. So let's say that you wanted to remove the integers value here. So let's say that you wanted to in, integer a float. Let's say that we wanted to remove the float value, and the remaining list is basically 3, false, none. So we remove basically the float value. So this is how the list method is work. Let me recap quickly. So we discuss various list method. The first one we discuss sort. In a sort, basically it's sort our value from ascending to descending. So we see that our list is basically unordered here, so using the sort function we basically sort our values. The next one is reverse. It's basically reverse the order of the elements. So let's say that we have 1 2 3. If I use reverse, it will say that 3 2 1. So basically it reverse. Then the next one is basically append. In the append, basically you can append the value, any value, just directly give the value, and it will basically append in the end of the element of the list. So let's say that we have a list 1 2, and you wanted to append 5. So just simply append 5, it will say that 135. So this is basically append the value in the end. The next one is insert. Insert is basically you basically insert the value by defining the index. So let's say that we wanted to at 3 you wanted to replace insert at 8. It will not replace, it will insert basically. So here we see that at one index we insert the value 5. So this is how the insert is work. The next one is pop and remove. Basically both is basically delete the elements from the list. Pop is basically you have to define the indexed to remove the element, and in the remove you simply have to give the value that you wanted to remove. So this is how the list is work. So let me recap quickly. In the list we see what is list, and then after that we we create a multiple list here. Then by creating the list you just define a square bracket, and then you also check the type, as we see that is a list. And then list indexing is basically, as you know, that list indexing start from the 0, keep in mind. And then we see the list slicing. We see couple of we did take multiple example here. So it basically start and then step function is basically and which element you wanted to skip. So after that we'll see how we can change the item in the list. We simply give the indexed value, and then we can define which element you wanted to change. So as you can see here, there's Ali is replaced with the Amir, and then so on. And then in the end we see the different list method. The next topic that we discussed today is tuple. Tuple is also a container which store any data type values, but there is one thing: it's fixed. Fixed mean is we cannot change and the element once we create a tuple. And so let me show you how we can create a tuple. Let's say that I wanted to create a tuple. So for the tuple we use curly brackets. Let's say that I wanted to create a list integers value here, and if I run here, and it will return our tuple. So if I check the type of tuple, sorry, the a, and it will show us the tuple, because we whatever we write inside the curly bracket, it will consider as a tuple. So this is how the tuple is work, and this is how we can create a tuple. So there's one thing I wanted to mention here. So let's say that I wanted to create a b tuple, and let's say that I take only one element, and if I return, it will show one. But if I check the type of b, it will say integers. Why not tuple? To create a scalar value in the tuple, we have to write comma, and if I run again, and if I check the type, it will show the tuple. So to make sure, because sometime interviewer asks you if I create a scalar value inside the curly bracket, what is the type? So you have to make sure that if we create tuple scalar value, we have to make sure we also mention the comma as well, so it will define the data types, which is tuple. We can create multiple data types values inside tuple. So let's say that I have a num in the tuple. So let's say that 1 2, and I wanted to create a. So if I num in, if I run, so it's basically showing you the mixed mean integers and string value. So if I check the type of num, and it will show as a tuple. So this is how we can create a tuple. As I mentioned, that tuple is the same thing as a list, but there's a one small change, that it's a fixed. We'll see further how it's fixed. So the rest of properties is the same. We can create a tuple using small brackets, and we can store any data type values, so like integers, float, string, boolean, and so on. So this is how we can create a tuple. Let me show you how the tuple is unchangeable. So let me create a, and let's say that I wanted to take from 1 to 10 value, and if I run, and it's basically we create a tuple with the value start from 1 to ending 10. So let's say that is unchangeable. How is unchangeable? Let me show you. So we say that we take index value 1, as we already discussed very briefly how the indexing and slicing work. This is just I wanted to show you why it's unchangeable. So let me show you. So I wanted to replace at one index, which is 2 and 3. So if I run a, as you can see that tuple object does not support item assignment, which means that it's we cannot change the element. It's a fixed. Once we create a tuple, after that we cannot modify the tuple. So this is basically take differences from the list that we discussed before, because in the list we can modify, we can change the list based on our the requirement, but tuple is basically fixed, and once we create a tuples we cannot modify or change it. So already discuss slicing and index in the list before, and this is same way working here as well. So indexing always start from the 0 to onward, and same slicing concept is work. So let me show you quickly one example of slicing and indexing in tuple. So how the slicing is work. So let's say that I wanted to take the element from 1 to 5 only. So 1, as we can say, start from the 1 indexed and ending from the, say if I show you the exactly our tuple, so 1 we have a 2 3 4 5 until 2 3 4 5 6 is excluded. This is how it's a return, and the indexing is the same. It started from the 0 1 2 3 4 5. So same, we already discussed very briefly in a previous video how the slicing concept is work in the string, and also see a couple of example in the list video as well. So just wanted to show you the slicing concept is working same. Doesn't matter it's a list, it's a string, it's a dictionary, we will discuss further video, and either is tuples. The next topic is basically tuple method, and we have a two method. One is count and the one is index. Let me explain one by one with example. Let's say that we use a count. Count is basically count the value from the tuple. So for example, let me show you with example. Let's say that I create a tuple and I say that 1 2 2 3 4 5 2 1. So this was the tuple that we create here, and if I wanted to count the value, let's say that I wanted to count 2. So let's say that I wanted to count 2, and it will run 3. Why? Because as we know that count 2 is basically repeat 3 times, 1 2 and 3. Let me show you another example. Let's say I wanted to count 1, and it will return 2. Why? Because 1 is basically count 2 time. 1 is in the start of the tuple at index 0, and the last one is basically at 1. So this is how the count is work. The next one is basically indexed. Index is basically check the index of a given item. So let me show you with the example. Let's say I wanted to check the index of 2, and it show me that 2 is present at 1. So it basically show us the index of a given value. So as we can see that 2 is present at 1 index. Why it's not showing 2 or like 3 or may the second last tuples value? Because it's always show you the first value. So as you can see that he start from 0 index to onward, and as soon as he see the 2 value, it will return the index 1. So let's say I wanted to check the index of 0. Sorry, I wanted to check the index of 1. Let's say that 1, as we can see, that appear in the start of the tuple indexed at 0, and also the nth last element of the tuple, but it will show me the 0 index because it always start from the 0. As soon as he take the element is match, it will return the values. So this was the method of tuples. We discussed two methods. One is count. Count is basically count the element from the tuple We see a couple of example here, like if I wanted to count 2, it will return like 3 time count. And same in index, basically in index we basically check the index of a given item. So if we provide the value using index function, it will return the value of 2 indexed. That, as we can see here, it's fun. So this is how the tuple is work. Let me quickly recap the video. So in this today video session, we discuss very briefly list and tuple. List, as we can say that list is basically we can store any data type values. It can be integers, strings, boolean, float, same as tuple. The basic differences between list and tuple is that basically tuple is working same as a list, but there's one small changes, because the thing is that the tuple is unmodified, or we cannot change the tuple. Once we create a tuple, this is basically fixed, and after that we cannot change, modify it. But in list we can do that. We also see list slicing, list indexing. Then we also check a couple of method in list, for example sort. We also check reverse, append, and so on. And same in tuple, we see how we can create a tuple using small bracket. Then we see how the tuple is unchangeable. We also try to change the element, but it giving us the error. And then we also see a few example of slicing, indexing, and then in the last we discuss two method of the tuple, which is count and the indexed. This was the end of the tutorial session. I hope you enjoy the session. If you have any question, feel free to write in the comment sections. And if you want to the source code, please visit our website, and it will refer you over the GitHub code. And if you like this video, please subscribe and share this video to others. See you until the next time.